Yo, what's up, guys? Yeshua Salvation channel. Welcome back here from the Troll Cave, which I've been told is where I'm at, the Troll Cave. But tonight we're going to do part 4 on our Maitreya series. I've actually been finding more information than I thought I would. There were so many years there where you literally just didn't see no info for like 10-year stretches and stuff on this guy. But we're going to continue the series. I found some pretty cool stuff. We're going to check them out. But I think this is going to be a lot longer series than I had initially thought it would be. I've been finding a lot of stuff. So let me see. All right, so I'm going to start off with this one. So, to give some context, on one of the Maitreya's, I believe it was 1 or 2, I think it was 2, we showed a Art Bell interview with this lady, Kathleen Keating, who said he appeared in her backyard. Now, this is his show at a later date where he speaks about him basically again. So we're going to check it out. And this guy, Art Bell, passed away a few years ago, from what I read. He had just quit doing his radio show. He was actually like on the radio. It was called Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. It was on there for a good 15, 20 years. And then all of a sudden he just quit doing it. And the rumor is he went into hiding basically. So did that lady, Kathleen Keating, that was on the show. And then he passed away a few years ago. But let's get started.
So we put a specific link now. All right. Here we go. We now have a new link to Kathleen Keating's website. In fact, the specific area where the name of the Antichrist, the person she believes is the Antichrist, and the organization is in fact printed. Now, if you got on her site, you might not have been.
Yeah, because she was scared to say his name because he supposedly, according to her, just appeared in her backyard out of nowhere. I mean, anything's possible when you're dealing with the Bible and stuff and the supernatural. So you never know. I mean, it could have really happened, or it could have not, and she could have just been trying to sell books or something. Well, I don't remember if she was an author and if she sold any books. I'll look that up.
Been able to find it. You had to know where to look. So we put a specific link now to where it is.
But also, Kathleen Keating is still alive, and she posts YouTube videos every once in a while. Sometimes it'll be 6 months, 8 months in between, but she posts here and there. If her channel's still up, I'll check that too.
That will help you. But there have been some pretty weird things, I must say, going on. This whole topic of the Antichrist is a really strange one. Kathleen, hi there.
Hi, Art. How you doing?
Fine. Thank you for coming.
Whoever just tuned in, this is an interview from the 90s. We had covered part of this interview in the part 1 of the series. And they're basically just talking more about it here.
On tonight.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me back.
What an uproar.
Oh, it's been, I think the price on my head went up exponentially after Monday night.
Anyway, whether it's some outside influence or your website unable to handle the traffic, I wouldn't have any idea, but
I think it's a little bit of both.
It may be a little bit of both. The fact of the matter is, if people are persistent, they will eventually get through, right?
Mm-hmm. And we also have a link on the front page. As you just go into the site, it'll take you right to that article.
All right, that's very helpful. I want to read something that I've received in view of right below where you identify the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
You say there's also another guy in New Mexico who appears to be vying for the same infamous title.
Mm-hmm.
This may add to some confusion, but I think there is a reason we're seeing two world teachers. It is true there will be many smaller Antichrists, some significant players, especially world leaders, who will qualify as Antichrists. However, in the end, only one man will be the ultimate Antichrist. But there will be others, huh?
There will.
All right. I've got an email that I want to read you that I thought was creepy. So I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to get your reaction.
I've heard a few things dating back 20, 30, 40, 30 years ago, I would say. 25. Yeah, probably 25, I would say. That And there's actually a video that said the same thing. I think it was either The Lion of Judah or End Times Productions. But they were basically talking about how in Washington, D.C., under the Capitol building, there's a huge, like a cultic altar down there. And they claim that the Masons believe that when they pick the man for the Antichrist, he'll come to that temple and they'll basically have Lucifer possess his body. But that's according, supposedly, to what I've heard, to what the Masons believe. Whether there's truth to that or not, who knows, without any physical proof.
Action. Dear Mr. Bell, I've just heard much of your interview with Kathleen Keating on streaming audio, and write to take the pressure off that poor goof from the UN, who she has quite incorrectly identified as the Antichrist. And writing you isn't the only thing I'm doing. You'll notice that her website is...
Yeah, I remember in the previous parts I said supposedly he has an office at the UN and he flies around on the baby blue UN jet. That's why the guy said the goof from the UN. If this guy, if he's, like I said in the thing, if he's real, I mean, yeah, I'm keeping my eye on him if he's a real man. If he pops up in the future, then yeah. But this could all be a hoax. Who knows? We're just exploring.
Still inoperable. You see, the fact is, I'm the Antichrist. I'd like to call into one of your programs, but frankly, I'm just too busy. It's always like this when I'm on this side of the Atlantic. There's an invisible cocoon blocking rational thought that is stretched around this part of the world, and arguably Texas Christian University in particular, and thank God for that. Facts just do not penetrate this far into what I like to call my personal territory. In Europe and other places closer to ground zero, the Mount, Wailing Wall, Jerusalem, whatever you want to call it, scholarship is more, how should I say it, exacting. Thus, many people over there know a few things, but I'd like to take the time to bring you up to speed on. Please feel free to check my facts. Just because I am the Antichrist doesn't mean that I'm infallible. After all, I'm stuck in this really clumsy older body, and sometimes life is a struggle. I don't recall things as well as I used to. So, when the Jews were looking for a Messiah, they really didn't believe one would ever arrive. A phrase current at the time was, when the Messiah comes, by which was not meant that the Messiah would be engaging in a sexual act, but rather he might arrive. The odds makers throughout the whole proposition find the whole proposition rather sketchy. Your equivalent today is the second coming of Christ Almighty, which means the same thing, and nobody is too mussed up about it. And this time, the Messiah might very well be a woman. Last time, this honor went to Maitreya, but I digress. The Messiah was to have 4 qualities. The person so honored was to be the perfect embodiment of the qualities male and female, and also completely spiritual and physical as well. The glyph by which one speaks of this, then though, over here not so much now, was a cross. So we have 4 quadrants defined by this cross. And each of the quadrants, we write a Hebrew letter, which stood for one of the 4 qualities. It traditionally rendered Yahshua, I believe, or Greek Jesus. It is a title, not a name. It is to be earned, not bestowed at birth. So, in Luke, the instructions for naming this lad read that you will call his name Emmanuel when the kid gets here, because he's got a hell of a shot at this whole Messiah thing. So the child who arrives, not by virgin birth, as any Christian in Lebanon, among other places, will tell you, is first destined to be a man, and he is given the name Isa, which is a diminutive of Isaiah, which means God himself. In Greek, of course, the name is Emmanuel. Now, I regret to say that Kathleen Keating, sounds a bit like cheating, doesn't it, did not demonstrate too much.
Yeah, this was a talk show. People would call in and they'd also email questions in. He would answer. He had one called, the guy called in and claimed to be the Antichrist. It was a pretty hilarious conversation from what I remember. I'll see if we can find that.
Much of her research skills in your program. Indeed, one thought that her best efforts were to consult some Christian in Oklahoma with an address to an institute that's really the back of a privy door. I know the place because I provide the funding. And there's more. Oh, yes, really. Keating says the Antichrist drives up in a Beamer. I don't like Beamers. Tom Wolf's right. They're like most European cars, designed and built by people who would rather hike. Here's where Miss Keating really gets caught out in this. Oh, my back. Anyway, I don't know, Ms.
All right, so that wasn't about him. They mislabeled that. All right, let me get this next one going. This next one, this channel, I used to see this channel all the time, and he hasn't uploaded in like 14 years. I wonder what I guess he just quit doing it. It was called Forerunner 777. He was all over back in the day.
Hi, and you're now with the Forerunner Chronicles. On January 14th of 2010, a man by the name of Benjamin Creme in London, England, made a very startling statement. Now, Benjamin Creme is known as the John the Baptist of the New Age movement. If you've ever doubted as to whether or not the activities of the New Age movement and secret societies have any major role in instigating the construction of a new world order, well, you can put that doubt out of your mind as of right now. Please pay extremely close attention to what you are about to see in this video, because it may very well be able to save your life. What you're about to see is the truth.
For over 30 years, artist, author and lecturer Benjamin Creme has been preparing.
I don't know why my stuff looks so blurry. It's on 720. I guess I could raise it to 1080. But I always notice it looks blurry and you can't really read the stuff.
The way for the biggest event in history, the emergence of Maitreya the World Teacher and his group, the Masters of Wisdom. Millions of people have heard his information and wait expectantly for this momentous event. On the 12th of December 2008, Share International Foundation distributed a news release announcing that in the very near future, a large bright star would appear in the sky, visible throughout the planet night and day, a sign of Maitreya's imminent open emergence. The star, the herald of Maitreya, seen throughout the world, has done its work. At his latest public lecture at Friends House, Euston Road, London, on the 14th of January 2010, Benjamin Creme made the following announcement.
Maitreya recently gave his first interview in America, the first of many such interviews. He followed in Japan and Europe and so on. The master of all the masters. He followed in Japan and the first of many such interview in America. The first of many such interviews.
Yeah, they didn't give the date, but I remember when this came out, literally the whole internet was going through every, every news station, like interviews and stuff, looking for who it could be. Because he said one time he had a slight stutter. So they thought it was this guy named Raj Patel, this Indian guy. We were going to get to him in this series.
He followed in Japan and Europe and so on. The master of all the masters. For the first time in human history, himself came on a well-known television program in a major network in the United States, but undeclared as maitreya, just as one of us.
Yeah, they say he didn't go on under the name Maitreya. It was just like a regular, like John Smith or whatever. But what's interesting is that guy Raj Patel. They all thought he stuttered, and a lot of what he was promoting was similar to Maitreya's ideas. It was like sharing food for the whole world, and it was. We'll get into it. I don't want to spoil too much.
And he gave that interview. It would be watched probably by many millions. And that's the first time such an event has ever happened. Can you imagine what it means? For the first time in human history, the world teacher not only can come himself, but can speak to the world, to the linked television channels of the world, and address all humanity. His name is Maitreya, but he will not use that name until enough people are responding to him and what is called the Day of Declaration has arrived. Then Maitreya will come before the world on the Day of Declaration and acknowledge his true status. We can only afford one world. That world has to be one in fact and indeed, and at peace. And the only way to get peace is to create justice. So the only way to get justice is to have trust. How do you get trust? There'll never be justice if there's no trust. So the only way to create trust is to share the resources of the world. This is the year of the tiger. And the year of the tiger, according to Maitreya, is a year in which great things take place. Great big things take place. The tiger brings about big change. And humanity will wake up in this year and from now on and will demand of its governments changes which up till now it thought it would never get. And the world will undergo quickly a change set in motion in this coming year by humanity itself.
Yeah, some pretty crazy claims. Oh yeah, we're gonna look to see if Kathleen Keating still had a channel going. Now right here, this isn't her, one of these ladies. This is just a different Kathleen Keating. She's like a nun or something. It's not the same girl. Okay, I think this is her channel.
Father Gruner returns for another fast-paced hour to answer our questions and to assess the world's condition.
Yeah, okay, this is her channel right here. I recognize her voice. Cyber Command, that's right. Oh, yeah, 5 years ago, the final Art Bell send-off. I think he had cancer, if I remember right. And it was like 5 years ago. Yeah, looks like she has her channel still, but she doesn't. Oh, okay. She deleted a lot of stuff. I just checked this a few months ago, and there was videos like from this year on here. So looks like she deleted all of them. I'm trying to remember what she was saying in all of them. to watch part 2.
Just heard the remarks made by Benjamin Creme, but you're still not grasping the sheer magnitude. I mean, the potency of his statements. Well, let me take a little bit of time to kind of break it down for you so that none of its significance goes over your head, because it's all extremely important. You see, Benjamin Creme and Shear International, which represent the New Age movement, and not only this organization and that man, but another organization known as Lucis Trust, which was formerly known as Lucifer's Trust, which has its headquarters within the United Nations. As a matter of fact, the very...
Yeah, I remember I talked about that, and I believe the first video when they showed the picture, I showed the picture of Blavatsky and Bailey, how I said it used to be Lucifer Trust. Like, it's crazy, it's real. The bank was literally called Lucifer Trust, and it was such an outrage, especially back then, that she was forced to change the name, kind of like the secret doctrine.
The purpose for the existence of the United Nations is to push the agenda of this spiritualist New Age movement and that of the papacy led out by the profligate Pope himself. Well, this high-powered spiritualist occult movement known as the New Age movement, they believe and they vehemently teach that the long-awaited for Christ is Lord Maitreya and not Jesus Christ, whom is the true Son of God. As of January of 2008, stars began to appear in the sky in various places all throughout the world as these occultists predicted, and these stars, according to their predictions, were for a sign that Lord Maitreya was about to begin to make himself manifest amongst humanity. Now, there are those of you out there that may be thinking to yourself, this could not have ever happened. They did this all on a computer. There were never any stars. It's all in somebody's mind. I warn you, do not be deceived. Jesus Christ himself clearly tells us in the book of Matthew chapter 24 that just prior to his second coming, in these last days leading up to the glorious appearing of Jesus Christ, signs and wonders would begin to happen on a large scale all throughout this world for the purpose of deceiving people into receiving counterfeit Christs, even the devil himself, when he counterfeits the second coming of Christ. You heard me right. In the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 4, the Bible says, take heed that no man deceive you. Then in verse 5 it says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Then the Bible goes on to say in 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 14, and no marvel, for Satan himself, the devil, is transformed into an angel of light. The Bible lets us know in no uncertain terms that the devil, Satan, has the supernatural ability to transform himself into a luminous being, a luminous creature, even to appear as a star. And the purpose for this is to deceive people into receiving him as the Christ, the one who is sent from God, but it's all a counterfeit. Take heed that no man deceive you. Ladies and gentlemen, the devil will counterfeit the second coming of Christ. And according to the statements made by Benjamin Creme, this day, when the devil comes counterfeiting the second coming of Christ, which will deceive the masses, is just upon us, just shortly from the time that you are currently viewing this video. And according to Benjamin Creme, when this man, Maitreya, came on national television in the United States of America and
this video is 13 years old.
Did an interview, it was the first such event ever to take place in this world's history. But this man did not make himself known as Maitreya. He just came as one of us. Doesn't that sound like when Jesus came in the book of John chapter 1 and verse 14, when Jesus says, the Bible says, and the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld him, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Jesus came just like another human being, and here the devil is trying to counterfeit every aspect of the manifestation of the true Christ, whom is the Son of God. But if you listened closely to the statements made by Benjamin Creme, you would have realized that he said the reason that Maitreya did not use the title of Maitreya to identify himself is because he is waiting for the time that more people will be ready to respond to him as Maitreya. In other words, the devil is...
Well, and they also said that he didn't want to infringe upon society's free will. So if he's real, then that means he probably couldn't come forward at the time. God probably wouldn't let him.
Waiting for the time that the humanity, that the masses will be prepared to respond to him or receive him as Christ, which lets us know that currently there must be afoot a deception. There is a process currently underway to prepare the minds of the masses to receive the devil or others that he uses to counterfeit the coming of. Now, what we need to know is, what are these plans, these movements that are going on right now that are to prepare us to receive the devil as Christ? Well, listen to these statements that were made by Benjamin Creme himself. In a publication issued by Shear International, Benjamin Creme stated that because of the law of free will, Maitreya cannot name himself. His discovery depends on the willingness of journalists and others to identify him and receive his message. When, through Christ consciousness in us and our own spiritual intuition, that stage is set, the international radio and television networks will be linked together. We will see his face on the television screen and will hear his appeal telepathically. He will overshadow all humanity simultaneously. Everyone will hear his words in their own language. Hundreds of thousands of spontaneous healings will take place, and humanity will know that this man and only this man is truly the Christ. Notice that Benjamin Creme stated that it is through the Christ consciousness in us and our own spiritual intuition that stage is set. What stage is set? The stage is set for the international radio and television networks to be linked together, for these spontaneous healings that will happen to hundreds of thousands, and all of these other supernatural occurrences that will happen as a point to deceive humanity into believing that Maitreya and only Maitreya is the true Christ, when in actuality Maitreya is nothing more than a manifestation of Satan. Therefore, we know that the teaching of people coming into touch with their inner quote-unquote Christ consciousness is one of the devil's tools to prepare the minds of the masses to be receptive to him, the devil, when he counterfeits the second coming of Jesus Christ. So who in the world is teaching this lie about Christ consciousness?
I've always tried to find a deeper inner connection with the purpose that Christ had here on earth. And all my life, I thought it was just for him to die on the cross for my sins. But I now recognize that Jesus actually taught me Christ consciousness is who to be fully human, is to be Christ-like. Yeah, and so it's not any time that you not follow your spiritual calling that you are lesser of a human.
Christian too, and I got that a long time ago. I mentioned this also in this book called Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth, where he talks about the Christ consciousness. And up until then, I was like you, Margit. I thought Jesus came, died on the cross, that Jesus' being here was about his death and dying on the cross, when it really was about him coming to show us how to do it, how to be, to show us the Christ consciousness that he had and that consciousness abides with all of us.
Yes.
That's what I got.
Yes.
That's what I got.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now you can see that's right out of the New Age and what their Maitreya's beliefs, saying Christ consciousness and all that. They've been promoting it for so long. That's one of the things that's made me be like, yeah, he could be real. All right. That's that one. This is right here is, she's a newer channel, and the channel's name is Maitreya, and from what I've gathered, she says it's a show on Wednesdays where people call in and Maitreya overshadows her and answers people's questions according to what she says. I'm not gonna watch a bunch of it. I wanted to show it. It's
just the other day when we were doing AMA. Does anyone else feel like that? I can see that Sadie has joined us. Samantha is here from Australia. Blessings to you, Samantha. So lovely to see your name.
You see the title, it says Spirit Answers Your Questions Live. But in all the other videos, she says Maitreya answers them.
In the chat box there, I send you love and blessings. Let me know if you have a question for us today for our live stream. We've also got Virginia who's tuning in. Virginia says, sending love. You are amazing. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your kind words, Virginia. Great to have you on. Kate says, hello, everyone. We've also got Josie here with us from Canada. Emma Richardson, around work. This could be with a partner. This could also be with family members. There's a burden here. I
think now Maitreya is talking through her, according to her. But excuse me. But I need drinks. But like I was saying, a new channel, and I think it was this video. Yeah, see right here. I commented, I run a channel and have been doing a series on Maitreya. Would you be willing to do an interview on live one of these nights or days? So I'm trying to see if she'll have a conversation so we can see what her beliefs are about Maitreya and who he is and all that. So we'll see how that goes. All right.
Why are California homeowners
And then here's one, Benjamin Krem's Maitreya debunked. We'll get around to that at some point. Yeah, this one was interesting.
There comes a time when all life on Earth is in danger.
This is newer, but I think it's from it's either that same Maitreya channel or a different one. But they're saying Shambhala warrior prophecy is about to happen. But if you remember, I said on the first one, supposedly they say Maitreya was down in Shambhala at the deepest parts of the under the world for so many thousand years, and then he ascended to the highest part of the Himalayan mountains, and then was up there for a while, and then now they say he lives in London. But I just wanted to watch this because it's new, and you don't really see too many new videos on this guy. So
at that time, great powers have arisen, barbarian powers. powers. And although they waste their wealth in preparations to annihilate each other, they have much in common. And among the things these powers, these laleux, called barbarian powers, have in common are weapons of unfathomable devastation and death, and technologies that lay waste the world. And it is just at this point in our history when the future of all beings seems to hang by the frailest of threads that the kingdom of Shambhala emerges. Now you can't go there because it is not a place. It exists in the hearts and minds of the Shambhala warriors. And actually, you can't tell a Shambhala warrior by looking at her.
It's kind of weird how they're Shambhala warriors if Shambhala isn't actually a place. So how do they have Shambhala warriors? Kind of weird.
Or him. Because they wear no uniforms, no insignia. They wield no banners. They have no barricades upon which to climb to threaten the enemy or behind which they can rest and regroup. Now the time is coming, Dugu Gyal Rinpoche said to me, when great courage is required of the Shambhala warriors. Moral courage and physical courage. And that's because they are going to go right into the heart of the barbarian powers to dismantle their weapons. They're going to go into the pits and citadels where the weapons are made and deployed. They're going to go into the corridors of power where the decisions are made to dismantle.
Her talking about that kind of made me think how there's always been ties to like UFOs above nuclear reactors and stuff. And then like not too long after, like something happening to those reactors, or like it did in Fukushima, but I find that kind of interesting.
The weapons in every sense of the word. Now mark this, said Chujia Rinpoche to me. The Shambhala warriors know that these weapons can be dismantled because they are manomaya.
Man-made.
That means mind-made.
Mind-made.
Made by the human mind, they can be unmade by the human mind.
I knew the second one was made.
Because the dangers that face us are not brought upon us by some satanic deity or some evil extraterrestrial force or some unchangeable preordained fate. They arise out of our relationships and habits, out of our priorities. They are made by the human mind. They can be unmade by the human mind. So, now is the time the Shambhala warriors go into training. How do they train? I asked. They train in the use of two implements, he said. Actually used the word weapons. And he said one is compassion and the other is insight into the radical interdependence of all phenomena. And you need both, he said. You need the compassion because that provides the fuel to move you out where you need to be, to do what you need to do. And it means not being afraid of the suffering of your world. And when you're not afraid to be with that pain, then nothing can stop you. You can be and do what you're meant to do.
Beliefs they have.
But by itself, he said, that implement is very hot. It can burn you out. So you need the other tool, the insight into the radical interconnectivity at the heart of existence. the web of life, our deep ecology. When you have that, he said, when you understand that, then you know that this is not a battle between good guys and bad guys.
Right.
You know that the line between good and evil runs through the landscape of every human heart. Act with clear intention. Play between compassion.
Yeah, you see, there's people still promoting this guy nowadays, even though the Benjamin Creme guy died. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna stop off here because I like to keep them between 40 and an hour, especially when there's no viewers. I think next time on part 5, we'll get into when he supposedly started appearing on TV all over the world, like and doing interviews, and then we'll get into the Raj Patel guy, and then yeah, we'll go from there. All right, guys, God bless. Just remember, Jesus Christ is God. He's the only way into heaven. He died for our sins. 3 days later, he arose from the dead to sit at the right hand of the Father. Jesus Christ is God. He died on the cross for us, guys. Amen. Good night. And remember, don't believe the fake OSAS lies.